NBA season, 1 week in the books, and it's been great because of all the scoring. I don't think people expected all the points. We've gotten games in the 120s, 130s, 140s. That might be surprising. To some people, it's surprising that the Lakers are 0-3. I'm happy. I like LeBron James. He's a great player, but I don't think it was going to be that easy. People were already penciling them in for the NBA Finals. That wasn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. And maybe he should learn to count timeouts like J.R. Smith, because he screwed that up the other night. And maybe he should learn how to hit free throws at the end of a game.
I think you're being a little rough on LeBron James. It's a good start for the Lakers, I think. I know they haven't won a game, but I've seen some.
It's a good start when they're winless?
They're winless, but I've seen some better team chemistry. You saw a lot of things from Kuzma. You saw a lot of things from LeBron James already. They played San Antonio tough. Trust me, I'm on your side when it comes to expectations for the Lakers, but it's a lot better than where they were last season. So they're going to start winning games soon. I just think that the chemistry is the most important thing, and losing a game like that to San Antonio is definitely a building thing. And when it comes to the Lakers, it's going to be ups and downs all season long. But the bright spot was that Kuzma got 37 points, and maybe he'll be in the starting lineup soon. I don't know. You know, there's like he said, there's been a lot of points. We've seen a lot of new guys on new teams. I thought Portland's been off to a pretty good start so far. I think New Orleans is off to a good start right now too, especially Anthony Davis. And Denver is right in that mix. I think Denver could be a surprise team. They look hungry compared to what they did to last season. They barely missed the playoffs by a game. They had that play-in game with Minnesota to get into the playoffs last year. And I think right now they have a pretty good function with a good young nucleus with oh my gosh, the kid from Michigan State, Gary Harris. There we go, Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and in company with Will Barton as well. So expect Denver to make some noise in the West this year. I think.
Let's go back to the Lakers. They're not happy that Kuzma's scoring 37 points. That's not the goal. The goal is to win. They brought all these players in to win, and they're not winning yet. They will be okay though.
You're right. I don't understand why Kuzma wouldn't be in the starting lineup, though. I think Kuzma could be.
Who's he going to start over?
I think Brandon Ingram. I think he's more versatile than Brandon Ingram. I just think on the defensive side of the basketball right now, that's not what Luke Walton wants to see, so he hasn't put Kuzma in there yet. I think he's going to be flip-flopping with Brandon Ingram and with Kyle Kuzma.
It doesn't matter really.
I think his more talented player is Kuzma, and I think from what we saw against San Antonio, putting up 37 points, I don't think Brandon Ingram has a 37-point game in him.
It's not all about scoring points. It's about if you don't win, what was the reason for scoring 37? What did it do?
They should have won if LeBron hit those free throws.
Exactly. Or did,
that game was in their bag. They were up
he
by 8.
also missed a jumper at the end.
He did miss a jumper at the end. The way I see it, the Lakers went up by 8, and they should have closed that game out against San Antonio the other night. But that didn't happen. They're a young team. They made mistakes. They left the thing with San Antonio, you cannot keep your foot off the gas pedal. And that's exactly what they did. They got comfortable. They thought they won the game with about a minute left. San Antonio is San Antonio basketball. They're able to come back just like that. And with one player, which is surprising. I was talking with Bobby earlier today, and I was thinking, and I'm on your side, the Lakers are going to have to win those tough games. Can they miss the playoffs? I think they can miss the playoffs, but they have to improve from their mistakes, and San Antonio is definitely a learning.
Well, these wins matter because last year, as you mentioned, Minnesota, Denver went down to the last game of the season to see who made the playoff. All these Lakers losses could hurt them in April. And I think they're going to make the playoff. They're good. I just don't think they're going to be the NBA champs, Western Conference champs. They're not getting past Houston. They're not getting past Golden State. Probably not past Utah. And LeBron James made this move. He's got the right to do all of this. But if he thinks he's going to the finals like he has the last 8 years, he's got another thing coming. He's not going to the finals. He'll be lucky if he gets to the second round of the playoffs.
I agree with Gary 100%. I definitely think the Lakers are going to have to improve if they want to make the playoffs. There's so many good teams in front of them. The Western Conference is stacked. I think seeds 4 through 8. I'll even put the 3 seed in there. I think those games will be decided by less than 3 games. I think it'll be close to last year, where literally you could go on a 4-game winning streak in the last 4 games of the season, and that could jump you from 8 to 3. So the West is very tight. There's a lot of great teams, and I just told you guys about a bunch of them, like Denver and New Orleans, for example. Those teams are really, really good basketball teams. If those teams are in the Eastern Conference, they'd probably be fighting for that 1 seed maybe. So the West is packed, and yeah, it's going to be a rough road for the Lakers, that's for sure. But LeBron James is there, and if you guys know anything about LeBron James, he gets the job done.
Really? Well, let's see what he does against the West. He's been in the East the last 8 years. He hasn't really had much competition. He's had a Toronto. He's had a Boston. That's it. He's got 7 other teams he's got to climb over. And I said this 2 weeks ago. It's only a matter of time before Rajon Rondo implodes. I didn't think it would take 2 games, and he's already at it. He's going to cost them with his attitude. He's a great point guard, but he's going to cost them games. And Alonzo Ball better be ready to step up because Rondo's going to be MIA at times this year. That's just his history.
Rondo definitely needs to keep his head. I think he's an excellent basketball player. What we saw him do with New Orleans last year was awesome. You know, his assist and point per, his shot total and like let's say he'd get 9 shots. he'd make at least 50% of those, and he'd get those 10 assists per game. I'd want to see him get those 10 assists per game every single game, and just keep his field goals to a minimal, because right now I don't want to see Rajon Rondo taking 15 shots.
But he does, and he doesn't shoot that much.
He doesn't shoot that much, but that's what makes him a good player, because he knows his limits.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Rondo. If he's able to stay on the court, he's able to produce 10 assists per game. That's what Rondo is. He's an assist machine.
That's a big if.
Yeah, that's a big if, but right now he has been doing that ever since game 1 of the season. We've seen him dish a lot of assists. He's averaging, I think, about 8 assists per game.
Probably. You know, I got to bring this up because about a year ago right now, Mathias and I were talking about the LA Clippers all summer. How he said after the Chris Paul trade, they were going to be better. They're going to the playoffs. They're a much better team. If I'm not mistaken, they were in the lottery. And you know what? They actually have decent players, but that LA team is going to be in the lottery again this year.
If Blake Griffin was able to stay healthy all year last season, maybe they would have made the playoffs. The Clippers are going to be in the mix.
For the lottery? The top pick of the draft?
No, they will be in the mix for the 8th seed to the 7th seed. They are great defensive.
Really?
Yes, they will be
Are
in
we
the
taping
fight.
this? I want to make sure we have this in April.
They will be in a fight for the 8th or the 7th seed or the 6th seed. Their defense is one of the best in the Western Conference, but their offense is below par.
Have you been drinking?
I have not been drinking. I've been watching basketball. And Gary, I'm telling you right now.
You said this last year they were going to be better.
The backcourt of Patrick Beverly and Avery.
Who was 0 for 8 the other night shooting, by the way.
Yeah, but his defensive pressure and his defensive efficiency is there. And we don't need scoring from Patrick Beverly. We need defense, along with Avery Bradley, the best defensive backcourt in the NBA, in my opinion. But they have to score points, and that's exactly what they don't do. So I'm with you on that. But maybe that'll help Shai Gilgeous-Alexander come out and produce off the bench. There's a lot of good pieces up with the Clippers. You got Tobias Harris. You have Danilo Gallinari. If
You're mentioning
he
names.
Stays healthy. I'm mentioning
the
pretty good
Clippers
names.
have as good a chance of making the playoffs as the New York Knicks. Basically, none.
We had Eric
None.
Pincus on the air today on the Bobby Curran show, and he had the same thoughts as me. He thinks that the Clippers are a great defensive basketball team. There's chemistry
Who are they
there.
going to beat to get into the playoffs?
They were right there last year.
Who
They
are they
missed
going
it
to
by a
beat
couple
of the 8
games.
teams that were in?
Minnesota.
Really?
Sure.
You think they're better than Minnesota?
I think they have a chance to compete with Minnesota. I think they're a better defensive basketball team than Minnesota. So if they could shut down Jimmy Butler and you just let Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns do the work, sure.
If.
It's a big if for them, too. Don't forget the Clippers have Tobias Harris and Danilo Gallinari. That's a great front
Guys
court.
who have been journeymen their whole career.
They're not journeymen. Tobias Harris is an improving forward for a long time, and so is Gallinari.
You're defining a journeyman.
Oh, my gosh. Come on.
See, Mathias thinks anybody who plays
Conference
for the Clippers is all-world, or Michigan, or anybody out of the United States.
And Gary's anti-LA, so everything he has to say about LA is false. The Lakers will be just fine. And so
I said the Lakers
Clippers.
will be fine.
No, you said the Lakers
I
are
said
in trouble.
they'll probably be in the playoffs. I'm just enjoying the suffering right now. The Clippers, though, will not be fine.
The Clippers are 500 right now, and that's okay. Because we're 4 games in, and they're 2-2, and they've played some pretty good teams.
That's the closest to 500 they're going to be all season long.
We will see, my friends. We will see.
We're going to go back to the videotape in April. Just like last year, remember you said they were going to be better without Chris Paul?
Well, I was just trying to get in your head, and it worked. Okay,
And you're trying it again.
It worked, and it's working. You know who?
How is it working?
Hold on. Enough of the Clippers. Enough of the Lakers.
That's true.
Who are your Western Conference Finals teams?
It's easy.
Who are your
It's
Eastern
Houston and
Conference
Golden State.
Houston.
Yeah, you've heard of them.
I know I've heard of Houston. I just don't think Houston will be there this year. I think Houston made a big mistake of letting go of Trevor Ariza and Luke Baamute, who were catalysts to their defensive scheme. You can't lose 2 players like that who are key components in your defensive scheme and say, oh, PJ Tucker is really the glue guy of that team. PJ Tucker is not the glue guy.
He's
of
been
the
good.
Houston
Capella
Rockets.
Capella at center is actually really good.
Capella's good because everybody
and
else is
Ariza's
taking
a big loss, I
attention.
think.
Ariza, well, we can't forget about Luke. Luke was their starting 4.
He didn't play a
He just
lot.
lost 2 starters of a team that made the Western
He's a
Conference
guy who
Finals.
starts but never finished games.
He
So
didn't
you don't really
finish
count
him,
him as
but
much
he
of a
played big
important player.
minutes. If he played over 25 minutes a game, that means he's
I
a
don't
big
think he did.
component. He did.
And they also got Carmelo, who I know a lot of people are going to ridicule, but he's still a good 6th man for them. That's what he's going to
But
be
what
right
does
now.
Carmelo do on the defensive side of the
Not
basketball?
much.
Exactly. So how are you going to stop other teams from scoring
Same
points?
thing they had to do last year, just outscore people.
You
And they
think-
did it for the most part.
Look at the top 4 teams in the West. If you had to pick the top 4 teams in the West. Right now, I'll put Houston in that mix around 4 because I think they could score on anybody. But in front of them, I would put Golden State, I'd put New Orleans, and I'd probably put, right now, if I had to choose, Denver.
Wow, the top 4 over Portland and Utah?
Portland could dip in production. I think Portland was kind of figured out last year. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum need to take
Look at New
50 shots
Orleans.
each in order for them to win.
New Orleans, really good team last year. They lose, DeMarcus Cousins, who wasn't there in the playoffs, and also Rajon Rondo. Who did they get? Julius Randle. Not bad. They're not
Julius
a better
Randle's
team.
been putting
They're a
up
one-man
points.
team. And that one man is
We
great.
can't forget about Drew Holiday.
He's good, but he's not even playing the
Former
point right now.
All-Star.
Alfred Payton is.
And Alfred Payton is a pretty good pickup.
He's been good. He had a triple-double in the first game. He's not going to be an all-star point guard.
He had 25 points last night against.
It's not all about points. It's about winning.
You're right.
You're going to bring up all these point totals. That's not going to get you in the playoffs.
Who are your top 4 in the West?
I just told you. Houston, Golden State, Portland, and Utah.
Utah's a good pick, but right now I don't know if Utah's going to be able to do the same thing they did last year. Donovan Mitchell was a key component. That was 1 year. I need to see that again, and he was a rookie last year. So I'm not sure if Donovan Mitchell will be able to repeat. Because I haven't seen him enough. It's his first year in the NBA. Have you ever heard of a sophomore slump?
That's a cliche.
That's a cliche, but it's a cliche because somebody made it up. I didn't make it up. The world made it up for the right reasons. But
you're reaching.
Okay, hold on. But forget the 4 teams. Top is Golden State. How far behind are the other 3? Because I still have Golden State ahead of them.
I would put Minnesota, New Orleans, maybe the Spurs, and probably the Spurs, because DeMar DeRozan's a good pickup for them, and they also have Greg Popovich, a great coach. I think those 3 teams, it's going to be a few games behind. And then you probably will have either the Lakers or Denver at 8. But then again, if the Lakers or Denver make the playoffs, who's out in the West? Because those 8 teams are in. Denver and the Lakers were out last year.
I think San Antonio's out. San Antonio's not going to be. They're going to have a tough time winning with a one-man team because you lost your star point guard, who was a defensive player of the year. Not defensive player of the year. Defensive first team NBA, which is DeJounte Murray. Who's their point guard? Patty Mills. He's a shooting guard.
He hit the game-winning shot the other night.
He did, but it's a good shot. He had 12 points. That's great.
Don't keep mentioning points.
He scored 12 points. If he was such a great player, he'd have at least 20. And he didn't have that many assists.
It's not all about points.
Okay, then what is it about?
Become a great player. LeBron James is the best player in the league. Is he the leading scorer?
What is it about? What do you have to do to win games?
Win.
You got to score points.
Win.
But what is winning made of? Scoring points. If you score 80 points a game, you're probably not going to win.
If the guy who led this league in scoring didn't win an NBA championship last year, it's not only about scoring.
The Golden State Warriors, what are they known for? Their defense and what else?
Scoring.
Their three-point
shooting.
As a team, but who puts up the majority of their shots? 3 guys who could score the basketball. The best 3 scorers in the league.
Right.
Scorers in the league.
But they aren't the leading scorers in the league. That's the point. They're not. Steph Curry was like 8th or 9th last year.
They don't have to be the leading scorers in the team. Okay, Western Conference, lots of fun as you can tell. Eastern Conference, a little different.
I think it's Boston, obviously. I'm not even sure who's going to compete with them. Although Toronto with Kawhi Leonard is looking good early, and they obviously lose DeRozan, but they were a good team. They're not a playoff team, and they have a rookie head coach. I think it'll be Boston against either Toronto, and I can't even pick a team except for maybe Philadelphia, who might be a year away.
I'm with Gary on this one. I think it'll be Philly, Toronto, Boston. I'll even maybe throw Milwaukee in the mix because Giannis could be the best player on that in the Eastern Conference maybe right now. It's arguable, but definitely. And you know what? After what I saw Boston in Game 1, just Game 1, all the components that they have, if they get chemistry with Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, Jamal Brown, Brown he went to Cal. Hawaii beat him. It was great. But yeah, it starts with Boston. I think it ends with Boston. I think Boston's going to the finals this year. They're a fantastic team. They have so much depth.
They don't have much competition. That's the other thing.
But they have depth, and the depth is scary. And today I saw a report that Terry Rozier isn't happy because he's not getting enough minutes off the bench. If a guy like that is complaining about not getting minutes off the bench, that's a good problem to have.
He's also a guy who had one good playoff run, and that's it. So he's trying to cash in. I don't blame him. I don't think that's why he's not going to get a big contract because everybody knows he's not long term. Not yet. I mean, he's been in the league a few years, but besides what he did for Kyrie in the playoff, that's all he's been known for.
Still good depth, though. I'm not saying
he's good depth.
I'm saying if you have that problem to come off the bench, shoot, I'm sure a lot of guys want Terry Rozier coming off the bench or even starting.
I'm not sure about starting, but he had a good run. But I think Boston is clearly the team in the East.
We got it.